Welcome back to another episode of After the License, the podcast where we help real estate agents build their business. Make sure you're checking us out not only on YouTube, but everywhere you get podcasts. Today, we are going to talk about tracking numbers, why it's important to track numbers, and just give a high-level overview of some things you should be considering keeping track of in your business. So, tracking numbers and tracking metrics around your business is so important. First off, tracking numbers is really what makes you a business, right? When you start to track things and understand and kind of change and make decisions around numbers and metrics, that's ultimately when you become a business and you stop just having a job. But most importantly, they say, and I believe this wholeheartedly, is what you track and what you keep track of ultimately multiplies or grows. So what you track grows. What you focus on grows. So when you track certain things in your business, not only do you have a better understanding of them so you can make better decisions around those things, but because you're focusing on those things, you have a tendency to execute more and execute better and ultimately grow your business. So we're not going to be able to dive into how exactly to track all of these things in this episode, but I want to give you a high-level overview of some things you should consider tracking in your business. And you're going to have to figure out what that looks like for you in your business, right? Some of these things you can track with a Google spreadsheet. If you have a CRM, sometimes your CRM will track these things. Sometimes you can retroactively go back and pull some of these numbers and do some calculations to understand what that looks like. But I'm gonna give you a high-level overview of some things I would advise you to track in your business if you have the means and if you're able to. So the first thing, let's talk about some marketing. We've talked about both these in the past, tracking cost per lead and cost per conversion. So very simply, if you can keep track of your cost per lead, you know, hey, how much is it going to cost me to generate a lead or 10 leads with this marketing avenue? And you do this by taking the total amount of money you've spent on that marketing avenue and dividing by the number of leads you've generated. So if it costs you $50 in Facebook ads and you generated 10 leads, 50 divided by 10, you know that your cost per lead is about $5 a lead. Again, you can compare that to maybe working a farm area or doing postcards. What is your cost per lead in each one of these? And you can make some business decisions around those. Cost per conversion is another one. Again, we've talked about this in the past is, what is your conversion rate? Well, when you know your conversion rate and you know how much your leads cost, you can figure out your cost per conversion. Ultimately, I think cost per conversion is more important than cost per lead, but we need to understand cost per lead before we understand cost per conversion. So if you're thinking about what does it cost for me to have a closing from one particular lead generation source, if you can break it down to cost per conversion, so how much is my cost per lead? How many leads did it take me to get a closing? That gets you your cost per conversion. So if we know it's $5 per lead and I have 100 leads, but I had 2 closings from those 100 leads, then we know it's about $250 per closing. That's a really powerful number to understand when you're actually starting to act like a business. Okay, here are some other just fast, quick fire numbers that you might want to consider keeping track of inside of your business. How many leads before you have a conversation with someone? So if you're generating online leads, you know that you might generate 10 or 20 leads before and you might start reaching out to these people, but maybe only a handful of them actually you're able to have a conversation with. So how many leads to a conversation? How many conversations do you need to have before you actually get an appointment with someone, whether that's a buyer's appointment or a listing appointment? How many appointments do you need to have before you actually sign someone as a client? Again, it's not always going to be one-to-one. You might go on 10 listing appointments and get 6 listings, or 10 listing appointments and get 2 listings. Those are important things to keep track of and understand so you can understand where to improve in your business. How many listings or how many clients do you need to have actually have a closing? So often we feel like, hey, I'm working with this buyer. This is eventually going to be a closing. The reality is you might have 5 buyer clients you work with and only 3 of them close. And there could be a variety of reasons for that, but keeping track of that is really important. And once you start to track these things, and you understand your sales funnel, your pipeline from start to finish with all of the numbers and all the tracking, is when you can get really dialed in and really, really focused on growing your business the smartest and most effective and efficient way possible. And without the numbers and without the tracking, you're really just kind of guessing. You're going off of a gut feeling. You're going off of emotion. And in a lot of cases, sometimes you might be right, but in a lot of cases, that might actually not be the right decision. So keeping track of these numbers in your business is really important. There's some trackers out there you can look at. You can track some of the stuff with Google spreadsheets or just pen and paper. But keeping track of and understanding these numbers is so important. Drop a comment below if you keep track of certain things in your business. Let's talk about what you keep track of or what you're struggling with in tracking. As always, I respond to pretty much every single comment on the YouTube channel. Love to help you guys out. And as always, if you found value from this content, give it a thumbs up, consider hitting subscribe on YouTube, and keep listening to that podcast. Thanks, everybody. I'll catch you next time.